This has been very interesting because it reminded me of the old principle of physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This may be producing more than an equal and opposite reaction in the sense that several Democratic states are seriously looking at trying to eliminate Republican seats. But I tell you what's really interesting to me, what the Texas Democrats have done, even though in the end, I don't think they're very likely to prevail. The Republicans hold most of the cards in Texas, almost all the cards, actually. What they've done, though, is make this a national issue, and they've gotten the attention of Democrats all over the country. Those Democrats are angry, and as a result, they might actually be willing to do things like pass a referendum in California doing away with nonpartisan redistricting, which they normally would never do because it's one of these good government states, and the good government people often win if they have enough money. And Arnold Schwarzenegger originally helped to organize the campaign when it was passed. Right. So this is worth their doing if it's only to change the minds of Democrats in other states, and those other states might provide the 5 Democratic seats to balance the 5 they're going to lose in Texas.
Well, Larry, I wonder if it's worth Republicans doing specifically in Texas as they try to carve out these 5 additional Republican seats, knowing in part it's leaning on areas that are more heavily Hispanic in terms of population, knowing that there was support for President Trump specifically in those areas in the election. Are they potentially making a miscalculation here that support for President Trump is going to translate to all Republicans as we redraw the map here? Is there actually a risk that it backfires, that it doesn't necessarily work as intended?
Yes, in at least 2 of the 5 districts, that's possible. Instead of a gerrymander, that's called a Dummy-Mander, when you end up shooting yourself in your own foot by doing this, by trying to spread out your voters, and you spread them too thin in a year that is not favorable to you, which 2026 might be for the Republicans. It's too early to say. If there's a recession, I guarantee you Democrats will be taking over the House, or even if there's a significant slowdown. But if there isn't, I think Republicans have an even chance of keeping the House as well as the Senate.
Well, that's interesting because we hear a lot about history at this point in the cycle, Larry, and we're reminded that Republicans are historically on their heels at a time like this. And when you have a majority that you can count on one hand, or a gap that you can count on one hand, it makes you wonder if history has anything to do with this cycle.
Well, it does. And you look at history and you say, well, the odds are the Democrats will be able to pick up the tiny number of seats they need to take control of the House. However, how quickly we forget. In 1998, which to me wasn't that long ago, in 1998, Clinton and the Democrats gained House seats because Americans were angry at the Republicans for trying to impeach Clinton. And then in 2002, the next midterm election, George W. Bush and the Republicans gained seats in the House of Representatives because of the reaction to 9/11. So you just never know. Things look solid, they look predictable, and they turn out not to be.
Well, so when we consider what we are seeing, and we just spent a great deal of time, Larry, discussing this with our political panel, what we're seeing from Republican lawmakers who dare to have town halls in their home districts with their constituents over this recess period, is that sending a foreboding 2026 signal to you, or do you see that largely as the people who are angriest, perhaps already not aligned with these individuals politically, being the ones to turn out and make noise?
Yeah, it's not a good sign for Republicans. On the other hand, there's a lot of time to go before people actually start voting at the end of September 2026 all the way to early November of 2026. A lot can happen. But you know what's interesting? People are saying, well, these town halls are not representative. They don't really mean anything. Democrats are showing up in large numbers. They have the energy to do it. And the Republicans are not showing a comparable energy to match them. Well, what matters in midterm elections? With lower turnouts, energy matters.
Well, that's interesting because it's so anecdotal, Larry, but clearly you're acknowledging the power of this moment. I grew up in New England where town halls were considered a way of life, and they don't happen as often anymore. They're resorting to teletown halls, or in some cases not holding them at all. I guess my question is, who goes to town halls anymore? Who are these people?
You have a core of partisans on both sides that will show up at almost anything unless they're on vacation or something. They'll come anytime. But you also have an added increment of people who have been angered by something, by X, whatever it is. During Biden's term, some of the Democrats had problems with town halls. Now, with Trump, the Republicans are having trouble because so many people are getting angry about potentially having their Medicaid cut off or having their food supplements shut down, whatever it may be. There's always something. And if you listen to Congressman Flood's long town hall, I didn't listen to every minute of it, but I listened to most of it. Every complaint you can think of under the sun was brought up at one time or another. It's not like everybody was concerned about the same thing, though the Epstein files seemed to unify Democrats, Republicans, and all the factions.
Well, and I wonder how that is going to play out when lawmakers return to Washington next month. Larry, before we let you go, obviously we've talked about how this redistricting battle factors into 2026, but I'd also like to ask you about how it factors into 2028. As we just noted, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, taking a bit of an opportunity here to put himself in front of the cameras. California Governor Gavin Newsom making a great deal of noise as well. How much of this is setting the stage for 4 years from now? 3 years from now?
There are going to be potentially so many Democratic candidates running and quite a few Republicans, but I bet it's far more Democrats than Republicans, that they look for ways to advertise what they think Democrats want. And I think they're right. What do Democrats want? They want some anger. They want to see their representatives stepping up. They want to nominate somebody who isn't going to sit back and let the Republicans run all over them. That's why so many Democrats right now have a negative opinion of their own party. The Republicans are much more positive about their party than Democrats are about theirs. So it's a plus for those potential candidates. It may also help the Democratic Party as a whole.